Voices of OPMD is a podcast series sharing real stories and bold science from the world of Oculopharyngeal Muscular Dystrophy, OPMD, a rare genetic muscle disorder that often goes undiagnosed and misunderstood. In this podcast, we explore lived experience, medical insight, and the growing movement of advocacy and research behind this condition. This series is about connection between patients and caregivers, families and clinicians, individuals and community. Because when we speak our truths, we create space for others to do the same. Our guest for our first episode is Michele Mulholland, founder and CEO of the OPMD Association. Let's get started. Michele, you founded the OPMD Association in August of 2022 as a 501c3. So what was your why? Maybe what gaps did you see in the OPMD landscape that made you feel something had to be built?
My grandmother had OPMD and my father has it. And I was watching his journey and how difficult his life was becoming and the things he was having to give up. My background is business and nonprofit, and I had run a nonprofit before. So I thought I could do this. And so established the 501c3 and really felt that we needed to get more information to the OPMD community. And by that, I mean not only the patients and the caregivers and the families, but also to get the word out to clinicians and researchers to make OPMD more visible as a neuromuscular disease. So that's the why. I really wanted to try to do something and felt that I had the background to contribute. And I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of my life if I retire now? So this is my retirement. This is something I really feel passionately about. This is what I want to do.
That's great. Well, thank you for starting the association. It actually is a real big deal to have that kind of advocacy organization around a rare disease, especially one with, the size of the footprint that we have. So really appreciate you setting it up. Was there a specific, you mentioned your grandmother and your father, but was there a specific moment that had you realized that this couldn't wait?
Well, I was looking for my next job, so to speak. I had done all these other things, but I really felt that this was something that was important. And I couldn't find that there was an advocacy organization. I couldn't find a lot of information about OPMD. And I spoke with my father's doctor, who happened to be Sarah Yusof, who did a lot of research on OPMD. She was working with a lot of OPMD patients. She was recognized globally. So I had a conversation with her about OPMD and the need for advocacy. As I established the organization, then I was introduced to Dr. Bernard Bray, Cynthia Gallon, a lot of the Canadians who are working on the disease. And they were instrumental in the development of this organization as well, because they were willing to meet with us on a continuing basis. We still meet with them now to help us along the way, to give us suggestions, to give us guidance. I met Rebecca Hastings. She's been working on this disease since the middle of, 2015, 2016. She knows an awful lot about the disease, and she said she would partner with me on this project. And so since that time, we feel like we've really made some strides. The OPMD Association is an all volunteer advocacy organization. So none of the people who work on this project with us are paid. They all do the work because they feel passionately about getting the word out about OPMD and bringing it to the forefront. Something that we discovered is that there were clinicians who were working on OPMD back in 2015-16, but then there was a very big lull, and we don't see a lot of, at least here in the United States, I do have to say, a lot of work being done on OPMD because Sarah Yusof no longer practices and works on OPMD. So we really felt that we needed to try to find a clinical advocate, that we need to have find research advocates for the disease. Also discovered that there wasn't another advocacy organization that we were aware of at the time And so it was very, very important to us to begin working on this project.
Great. So really what I got from what you shared is that there is a gap for families, patients, caregivers, and clinicians as well. And there was your why, which is like, I want to contribute something, something that's really important. So like in that gap, you evolved into something much bigger, not just creating awareness around the disease, but creating infrastructure to actually advocate for a cure, for more information for people, for
Absolutely.
Together, which is
absolutely
fabulous. Okay, great. So, from there, it seems like from the get-go, but from there, moving quickly into 2023, you really started to step into the national conversation with
Yes.
that. What changed when you joined the Neuromuscular Advocacy Collaborative in 2023?
Well, I think, first of all, to be invited into that group of patient advocacy organizations was very fulfilling because we felt that we were being seen. We also exchanged ideas with them. We were networking. A big part of what we do with the OPMD Association is networking and being a part of that collaborative, attending conferences like the MDA conference every year, or the Ottawa conference that we attended this past fall, the rare disease conferences that we attended as well. I think I attended one with you, Maureen. It's just getting the disease out there, getting people to recognize that we exist. And I think by being a part of the neuromuscular collaborative, we also met the people involved in that organization who provided us with a grant to do a survey of OPMD patients, caregivers, researchers. It's very important that we get recognition from that organization and be a part of the discussion, because we are part of the discussion. We need to be a part of the discussion. And I want to invite as many people who are listening to see what is you might be able to do to advocate for this disease. And it could be something very simple. You might think it's simple, but it's not. You can make phone calls. You can contact us with some information. You can become a volunteer. You can become an advocate. So there are a lot of ways to become active as a part of this organization. We are all inclusive. We want to include everyone as we continue to try to move this conversation forward and meet as many people as we can who can help us.
Yeah, well, they're really terrific. So he was very active in 2023 at the MDA conference with the Neuromuscular Advocacy Collaborative, at the Rare Advocacy Summit on the Global Genes, through the Global Genes Grant.
Absolutely.
Started a newsletter that year. I think really interesting advocacy initiative meetings you had in Washington, D.C. What did it actually mean to you to meet with legislators and national health leaders in D.C.?
I think that it's a very important part of getting recognition on a national level. So, we talk about, call your legislator, talk to your senator, talk to your representative. And those types of conversations are very important because they won't know about us if we don't talk about it. Yeah. So some other neuromuscular diseases are very good at having those conversations because they've been doing it for a while. So ALS and also Duchenne, Marie-Charcot. There's a lot of different advocacy organizations that have conversations on with our legislators, and I think that that's something that we can do. We've talked about having a grassroots effort of getting our members and members of the community. You don't have to be a member of the OPMD Association, but members of the OPMD community to contact their legislators and tell them, this is who I am. This is what I'm experiencing. I'm part of this community. And can we have in our state or in our local area an OPMD day, for example? I mean, that's something that's a dream for me. I haven't been able to get that grassroots organization kicked off, but that's something that we'd like to do in the future.
Okay. Well, it's one step at a time, and you took a lot of steps from when founding this in 2022 into 2023. It really sounds like, it was the year where OPMD stopped being isolated. It really began being integrated into the broader neuromuscular ecosystem, which is super important because even though they're different diseases, what's going on in those areas can really inform any rare disease, especially another neuromuscular disease.
Attending the Muscular Dystrophy Association's conferences and meeting other advocacy organizations, they have been very generous with their knowledge, with sharing their experiences and helping us along the way. So that has been very helpful. Another important aspect of that too is that we met Dr. Matthew Wickland through the Limb Girdle organization. We were in that meeting, and I think Maureen, you were in that meeting with me as well. And they said, you need to meet this doctor. He's in San Antonio. And I happen to be in San Antonio too. So we had a conversation, and that relationship really started then. And it was because of our friends in the Limb Girdle community that happened. We also met Sharon Hesterly at that meeting, and that has been a very important relationship to us, and met a lot of the other people who work diligently at the Muscular Dystrophy Association and have been very helpful to us. Marissa Lozano, who helped us get our first webinar put together. So we're very excited about the relationship and the partnership that we have with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Yeah, that's really great. So what was that like symbolically for you as the founder and CEO of the association?
I think that I felt like we were finally being seen, if that makes sense. People, not that they didn't know that the disease existed. Absolutely they did. They even did work on OPMD back in 2016, 2018, and probably before then. So there was work being done, but just to be seen again and to be recognized was so very important to us, because we're a very small fledgling organization, and we'd only been in existence for about a year and a half.
Yeah. So you actually talked a lot about expanding clinical partnerships, which is a big part of this. What does that mean for the patient community? Like, what difference does that make?
I think the clinicians, and I'll include the researchers in this conversation as well. Long term, what do we want? We want a cure, right? That's what we're looking for. But building the relationships with the clinicians and researchers is so very important. So what it does is it brings us a view into what it is they're doing. So, for example, in meetings that we've held with our clinician friends in Canada, they talk to us about the research they've been doing, and so that we can then share that research and that information with a broader OPMD community. Rebecca Hastings, my colleague, has been interacting with OPMD organizations throughout the world and globally. And so that's so very important. And then we've been recently invited to participate in an OPMD meeting in November in the Netherlands. I had no idea how many researchers are working on OPMD. It is so amazing. I think our community should have so much hope that these clinicians, these researchers, that's their career. That's what they're doing for their careers. They're working towards a solution for patients and their families. And it's so inspiring I asked one of the researchers in Montreal, Dr. Guigurlo, I asked him, why do you do this? Why have you focused on OPMD? And he said, I want to bring a better quality of life to the people who have it. So even if they don't necessarily get us a solution or a cure right now, we're working every day to get a better quality of life. And that's what the OPMD Association is trying to do as well. We want to bring a better quality of life to people who are in our community. And with that, we provide the website that has all kinds of resources. We're always putting our heads together trying to think what resources can we provide that'll make people's lives better and easier.
Yeah. So you really are like speaking to the as lived experience of OPMD here. It's not just about advocacy, like, it's beyond that, or it just deepens what advocacy means. And, it's the patient's lived experience, but it's also their, being able to engage with clinicians a little differently, like everything that the association does, and starts to bubble up. And, it starts to be more in the conversation. So I think that's really kind of exciting to see.
It is.
Yeah.
We're very hopeful.
Yeah. So last year, 2024, there was a lot of focus on, what you had been doing and kind of more of that. So you really kind of dove into the world of research and with global players participating at the MDA conference, lab to life sessions with leading researchers, creating a symposium, which was wildly successful. And then adding more to the website, including the OPMD patient registry, which I'd like to talk about a little bit. We, created our second webinar for OPMD Awareness Day that year. But there was just lots that you did. You were in Ottawa. You went to meetings at McGill University where a lot of researchers are. And then, got involved with Benetech Biopharma, who is a great collaborator of ours, really kind of backs what we're doing, and has generously donated to make these podcasts happen. So thank you.
Yes.
But I want to go to the kind of symposium. Looking back on that, what did hosting an in-person symposium represent for the association?
I think it gave us an opportunity to meet some of the members of the OPMD community in person. And so those are the people who are affected by OPMD, whether they have OPMD or they're the caregivers or family members. And to hear their stories, I thought was so very important. And I'll come back to that in a second. We partnered with Dr. Wickland and clinicians at UT San Antonio Health. And they brought their expertise to the meeting. And so Shelley McTee, who is part of the community in this southern part of Texas, she spoke as well. Her organization, the Wheeler Foundation, provided the funding for the symposium, and so it was just important to see that these clinicians who came to speak, the people who came to participate, and that they were all together in one room, and they had ample opportunity in breaks before and after the meeting to interact. So it was really eye-opening, I think most of the, and this is some of the feedback we got, that one of the best things that attendees said to us was that they really liked meeting other people who are going on the same journey. And so we were so energized and so great and so grateful to have the opportunity to do that, to provide them that opportunity. So we're looking to do another symposium again in not this year but next year, looking for a location and clinicians who would want to participate with us. But very, very exceptional opportunity. And we thought we'd only get people from, and I don't mean only, but we thought we'd get participants from the Texas, South Texas, maybe New Mexico areas. We had people fly in from all over the country, drive in to participate in this meeting. So that's how important I think it is for our community to be able to provide those types of opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely really agree that meeting people from the community is I think really important. I'm a patient advocate for the OPMD Association. So I do have through my participation and just kind of sharing my story, I do have people reaching out to me on a semi-regular basis, and it just is really nice that to get to interact with someone so that people don't feel on their own, or that I'm just speaking to you from the other side of a webcam or on a webinar, that we can have a short conversation if that's like the most appropriate thing to do. But I do want to kind of get back into 2025, you launched the OPMD patient registry. It's a current registry. Yes. And I do want to speak to the importance of that, under the guise of, connecting patients, right? Yes. So can you speak to, that registry and why it's important?
Absolutely. And we do have two different types of registries. We have a community registry where you can send in your name and your email address and let us know if you'd like to be part of research. But the really important registry for us is the CORDS registry. And it is a HIPAA compliant registry. The information that goes into that registry is protected. And the reason that it's so important is that we need to stand up and be counted. When people ask me how many people have OPMD in the United States, I have no idea. It's the same number that researchers have been giving, which is 1 in 100,000. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that it's very undercounted, because in my family alone, I know that there's only 1 or 2 people that have been tested and that would be part of that registry. Mm-hmm. We have to make ourselves visible, and a registry is a way for us to do that. Mm-hmm. If a researcher wants to have a group of patients to connect with, to conduct some research, we need to show them how that, first of all, we have patients that want to participate. And secondly, that we know how many people there are in California, in the Northeast, with this particular disease. So that's one thing. To get researchers and pharma companies interested in the disease, we need to know how many people have the disease. Mm-hmm. And being a part of the CORDS registry is very important. So we want to ask the people in our community, stand up and be counted. Let them know we're here so that we can try to then move forward research on this disease.
Yeah, and what I hear is it's just really important just from data, because that data is really important. A pharmaceutical company is not going to invest a lot of money unless there's a significant amount of people that can be impacted. That's just,
absolutely.
There's kind of many reasons behind it, but I really hear that, this is where patients that, they wonder that, they're, dealing with whatever their own journey is, and it's all unique, right? But you actually, without a big commitment, you can move from an observer of what's going on, or just being in and I'm not minimizing at all, like community out there. There are, a number of social communities, and then there's what happens through the association. But you can move from an observer and be a driver of what's in research. And that's the keys to the kingdom for any organization.
Absolutely. It's so very important. So I would like to encourage people to go to opmd.org and look up. There's a research tab at the top of that page on our website. And please go there. The link to the CORDS registry is on that website.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Now we're in 2026. Like, wow. All
where are we going?
2026, right? So, yes. and beyond, where are we going?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you're invited to participate and represent the patient voice at ENMC 2026, which is later in the year in the Netherlands, correct?
Yes.
And then there's a patient survey. There's a natural history study going on.
So exciting. All of it is exciting. Keep on going.
In the United States. Again, participating at the Muscular Dystrophy Association clinical meeting, being part of the Neuromuscular Disease Collaborative, being seen in partnership with Benetech, who is forwarding research and presenting their research at the conference. And, again, 2026 Awareness Day. What are we going to do for Awareness Day?
Right.
But a lot going on. Expanding what participation in the CORDS registry can look like by adding French and Spanish to it, which expands the community greatly, right? And creating care and caregiver guidelines for, kind of newly establishing them because, again, it's not literature that often gets updated or it's done by individual practices.
Right.
And I think it's really very interesting and important to, kind of create, vernacular, people are speaking the same language, and, in the set of guidelines and not making things up, right?
Right.
So that they really kind of know, what's the next thing that they might try for themselves, right? So, what do you think about, let's start with the natural history study.
Sure.
How does that, and, I think you might need to describe what a natural history study is so that people really understand it. But how does a natural history study move OPMD closer to a cure or therapies that make a difference?
So Dr. Matthew Wickland and his colleague Megan Amaro are at UT San Antonio are in the beginnings of a natural history study. And what that is they take patients from a certain standpoint in place and time, and they watch them over the course of a number of years. And it's taking a look at how the swallowing, what's happening with their swallowing, taking a look at how patients are ambulating, how patients are having issues, if they're having issues with ptosis, if they're having any other issues, dietary, etc. And so Dr. Wickland is going to be partnering with 3 other organizations in the southwestern part of the United States, UC Irvine, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong. And I've got the Barrow Neurological Institute in Arizona and also the University of New Mexico. And so he and this group of clinicians and researchers are going to watch patients over this course of time. And so what they're saying is that they could then look at a specific symptom of the disease and say, this is an area that we want to focus on. This is an area that we feel that needs to be studied. And they would have the data to show it and the tools to show it. And that's what's being done with this natural history study. And I'm sure Dr. Wicklund will see this and say, and you should have said, but that's my understanding, my basic understanding of it.
Conversation about natural history studies, because we do have the natural history study that they're doing in Canada. And what I learned that I didn't know in speaking to that team is how long a natural history study is. You know, it's not just like, it's 2026, let's do natural history study and we'll be done. It's really over a long period.
Long period of time. It's a long period of time.
Collecting data that really matters to patients and creating a cure.
Yes, and I think we're going to be here at the forefront of it because we're here in San Antonio, so we'll be able to be observers and collaborators with regard to this study as well. So we're very excited that Dr. Wicklund has decided to go ahead and move forward with that. Who has partnered with our community and is working with us to move the research forward here in the United States. They're doing, like you said, they're doing research in Canada. They're doing research in the Netherlands. They're doing research in France. They're doing research in New England. They're in Japan. All over the world, they're doing research. And so it's very exciting to have clinicians and researchers working on OPMD again.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. And so, this year is pivotal as well. And being invited to that meeting, the sessions around in the Netherlands.
It's the European Neuromuscular Center is the one who's instigated or initiated.
European ENMC, European Neuromuscular Center. What does that say about the association's growth?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with our efforts at networking, because this opportunity came from the networking that we did in Canada this past fall. They saw us there. We were seen there, I guess I should say. I met some people from the Canadian neuromuscular community. It's the equivalent of the MDA in the United States. And so people remembered us. And so when they were looking for an organization, a patient advocacy organization to be represented at that meeting, they came to us. And so that was a result of our efforts to bring awareness of the organization to people that we had met online, people that we've discussed OPMD with over Zoom, for example, as we are with you. And so I think it's important that people understand that we are going to bring the voice of OPMD in the United States to this meeting. That's our goal. And so in order to do that, we've been asked to conduct a survey of the OPMD community over the next few months. And so I'd like to invite our community to participate. The more participation we get, the better the data will be. The more information that we can impart to our colleagues and our friends there when we meet them at the Netherlands. So it's an incredible opportunity. We are grateful to have been considered, and we really need our community to step up and participate in the survey.
Right. So I did hear you say you're bringing kind of, the voice of OPMD and the association from the United States, but really the mission is for this association to have global impact.
Yes, so absolutely.
What I also hear is that you're growing as an association in that direction, right? Like the pieces of the puzzle that really kind of start that kind of global movement. So moving from the United States outside of the United States and bringing all the communities together impacted by this disease. I mean, if we really get the count on a global scale, imagine what research could look like.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, Maureen, I was pleasantly surprised to see all of the research that's being done all over the world. And we've been given a window into what's happening all over the world as well. And this isn't the first time we've been tapped to help someone from another country. Researchers contact us, not every day, but they contact us for help when they're applying for a grant. And they need to bring a voice of the patients to the grant. And so we have been contacted to do that. And we're more than willing to help out. But I guess I should say this. We have met some of these clinicians who will be in the Netherlands over Zoom, or have emailed them, or at a conference. And we probably know 10% of the people that will be there. That means that there's an entire community of researchers and clinicians who are working on this disease. Now, I don't want to make it sound like there's hundreds of thousands. Not necessarily. It's a very tight-knit community. They all know one another. They do research with one another. And I think it's just important for us to understand that we are not alone in this. As a U.S. OPMD community, we have friends and collaborators all over the world who want to help our people who are affected by this disease. And so it makes me, I get goosebumps when I think about it, that these people are dedicating their lives to working on solutions for people who have this disease.
Well, count yourself as one of them. Thank you for standing up this association. It's no small task in retirement. So, I'm not sure how much you get appreciated for that, but it is actually a really big deal. So,
well, thank you.
That's important. So I'm going to close, but is there anything else that you'd like to share before I do that?
Absolutely. I just want to take a minute to thank our volunteers, of which you are one.
Sure.
All the volunteers who work at the OPMD Association have been touched by the disease in some form. Whether they have the disease, they have a loved one who has the disease, they are a caregiver, or they want to be an advocate because they have a friend or friends who have the disease. And so I want to thank our volunteers, because without the people who work on this disease or with the organization, the OPMD Association, we would not be as far along as we are today. And we're looking forward to all the work that we can do together.
Yeah, I am too. And thank you for having me. It really is great to make a difference in a community that is important to you. And it's the same with me. I have a family history. So, really trying to make a difference for, this generation and future generations.
Yes, we want to take care of this disease, that no one in the next generation will have to deal with it.
Yeah,
that's the goal. It may not happen in our generation, but we're moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us for this first episode of Voices of OPMD. Really appreciate getting the context, the why behind it, and where the association is headed. And in our second episode, we will be speaking to the new head of the Muscular Dystrophy Association, Sharon Hesterly. So, really looking forward to having that conversation. If you found today's conversation meaningful, please share it, follow the show, and join us in creating momentum for this community and for others. Until next time, I'm Maureen Costello, and this is OPMD Voices.
This podcast is brought to you by Benetech Biopharma, Inc. Benetech, a clinical stage biotechnology company focused on the advancement of novel genetic medicines with headquarters in Hayward, California, and the OPMD Association. Visit opmd.org for resources, support, and more stories from our community.